This article is on testing with argparse and typer. If we go into our PyTest full stack repo, in the README, I've added that we will be adding in typer and PyYAML, because what's happening in this article is that if we've got a config file, and I've labeled it config_pwe PyTest with Eric YAML, and we have our tests down here. We start with 0704, where we're reading this file. And what I've done is in the articles here, as we go down, I basically renamed them source. And if we look in here, I've named them up in the source folder where we put our files, PW, argparse, YAML, all the PWEs down here, typer, all the files that we may see in this article. And essentially it's using the argparse to read in variables or typer as we go through here. And also then to use command line arguments when we're reading these files. So what we can do if we scroll all the way down is when we want to, coming all the way down, we can look at the tests in a minute, but what we'll do is we can add command line variables in the pytest.ini by adding an option in conftest.py and using fixtures, so that when we run things we can or we can put them in add-ops, we can run them on the command line here. What I've done is I've created a command line file for us. So here we are, we can test, for example, 0709, where we're reading in the file. It's a test. We won't go into the detail of them, but it's wired in here for you. What we can do is also in the pytest.ini, you can also set it in the add-ops so that you don't have to pass them in on the command line. I've commented them out. So if we see these ones here, 06, 07, 06, basically it's an example of parameterization, but parameterization of checking the config file. And in all the examples, I've renamed them to go into the config up here, whereas Eric's got them in the source folder. So that's basically testing if we're reading with these environmental variables, whether we get the right readings out of them. And if we have a quick look at that, we can see we've got the rest, dev, prod, all those values there. So if we come into our command file, and let's just run this first one, just to see that we can read things in. That all the tests are passing. If we want to run it on a command line argument, we can use this. That's running it there. Or if we add our pytest.ini options, and if we uncomment them, and if we come back to CMD and we run it like this, they will pass too. And we're using our config file. So pass, those tests are passing. And if we see like 0709, we've got our two tests to read either through argparse YAML reader or the typer, looping through and going through all of them. So there's quite a lot in this article, but it's all wired up in our PyTest full stack. So if you're going through that, it is basically just reading a YAML file either through typer or argparse, and basically then passing in command line arguments, either inline or by using the add option. By using the add option, and then either then putting them in the PyTest ini, so we don't actually have to add them on the line. They're read in automatically. That's what the add ops does. And if we look in ours, you will see that in pytest.ini, we've also got our -- strict markers here. So that's where we can do that. I'm just checking to see whether that is true. It seems like the right way, but whether I think it has to be equals true, as in Python true. Let's just see if this runs. No, it doesn't like that. Let me just do that again. Yeah, that works. So that's not it. We'll just leave it like that because it gets passed in as a Boolean. So that's this article, very useful for environments and for argparse and for typer. Quite a lengthy one, but it's all wired in. So if we come now to our full stack and actually run all our tests, okay, we've got sort of, let's do them test. If we do this, let's just test. We should be able to exclude, if I'm in the directory, let's just test. Let's cut all these out and let's do the, just checking our 50. Let's go with 10. What's it saying here? Unrecognized config. Let's comment that out. Run tests again. That's better. So if we leave them in, it's expecting them. So we'll uncomment them for that. So what we'll do is we'll go back and just quickly run all our tests just to check everything's working fine. Which we've got 220 odd tests now. Everything's going through. So the moral of that is that comment these out unless you're kind of just running separate the tests that involve these config parts and you want them passed in. It's going through, that's going through. Well, our tests are running. And if we remember in this setup, we get our results. You can see a big one on here. You can see, yeah, it's all been put in here. If we go scroll to the bottom, yeah, they're getting added one by one. It's going a progress bar. That's fine. We're expecting some. In our things, we are expecting fails because that's in it. That's not a problem. Skipped, X failed, X passed. And if we have a look at our report, there we go. 203. We've got parameterized tests, typer, etc. Okay, bring that one to a close.